have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
Welcome to an all-new series of Illuminati Chronicles. This is our third series on the Enigma channel, and this series investigates the global network of secret societies, temples, lodges and covens who seed their members into positions of influence in governments worldwide. My name is Chris Everard, and you are watching the Enigma channel.
Here is the clock, the Trumpton clock, telling the time steadily, sensibly, never too quickly, never too slowly, telling the time for Trumpton.
Trumpton is an old children's programme from the 1960s on the BBC. And Trumpton was a utopia. It was a perfect town where there was no crime and everyone got on well, and everyone was neighbourly and loving to each other. They never needed food, there were no homeless people begging on the streets of Trumpton, and it was all clean. Now, Donald Trump does have a dream, and this dream has put him ahead in the presidential election. And there's nothing wrong with a person who has a dream. We should all have goals, and we should all work towards those goals. However, Donald Trump has entered the world of politics. He does not describe himself as a politician, but nonetheless, he is now in the world of politics. What history shows us is that having a utopian town like Trumpton, where there is absolutely no crime, no homeless people, is very difficult to do, and it has been achieved in some European nations, but it is actually something that requires a lot of effort and a lot of honesty on the part of the political elite. The problem is this: all politicians have a distorted world view. This distortion is usually caused by having too much money.
You know, I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
Sometimes these politicians have a distorted worldview because they have far too much sex.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false.
Or politicians come from a political family. In other words, they are members of the political elite who have connections on the inside of the White House and on the inside of the Pentagon.
Now watch this drive.
Very early on in this presidential campaign, we saw people power coming to the fore. People were not happy with the idea of having yet another member of the Bush family in the White House. And very quickly, social media motivated and mobilized itself and pushed Jeb Bush over the edge. Frankly, electronic voting is the only lifeline that is now left for Hillary Clinton.
Kanye running for president, and how do you feel about that?
And he said he wanted to run in 2020.
Yes.
I would only ask him, if I'm running for re-election, to wait.
Now, in previous elections, we have had a complete farce where we have had John Kerry running against George W. Bush. Both these men are members of the same family, and both these men are members of the Skull and Bones fraternity at Yale University.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
wild.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets. I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
John Kerry's real family name is not Kerry, it is Cohn. K-O-H-N. And he has been running the Obama administration. Meanwhile, Mr. Obama has been getting sent out to go and buy burgers for the White House staff.
You want a hamburger?
I do. 2 burgers for breakfast.
We're going to get some burgers, and I can bring them back.
I'll take one.
You want fries? Sure.
The American presidential system works like this. The first term in office is really an active term, but the second term in office, because the president knows he's not going to be able to get voted in again, is really basically 4 years of absolute nonsense. These burger runs that Obama has been doing, and he's been doing a hell of a lot of them, are bigged up in the media as if he's a down-to-earth member of the public and he goes out and eats burgers. And of course it is good PR. What is happening back in the White House while he's doing these photo opportunities in various burger restaurants is that John Kerry is travelling around as Secretary of State, rattling his sabre, trying to big up wars. And we know from the Freedom of Information Act requests that many members of the Senate, many members of the Congress own shares in companies which manufacture weapons of mass destruction. While Obama is bigged up in the media as looking like just an ordinary guy, goes out and gets his burgers every lunchtime in government-funded limousines and he meets the people, the truth is that every morning there are kill lists. And these are lists of assassinations which are carried out by drones which are judge, jury and executioner. And at the moment we've had more than 100 children killed by drones in Pakistan by Obama. Mr. Obama is a puppet, and he's a puppet of the Bush family. The Bush family, in turn, are puppets of Buckingham Palace. Washington, D.C. is a separate entity which is not covered under the same legislation as the rest of the USA. The colonial interests of Buckingham Palace still have a huge amount of influence in American politics, but it's never mentioned because the USA is meant to be 100% independent from the British Crown. The real truth of the matter, of course, is that Iraq, Jordan and Israel are all controlled from behind the scenes by the Foreign Office in Her Majesty's government. The mandate for Palestine and the mandate for Mesopotamia are the documents which prove that Buckingham Palace not only drew up the borders of Israel, Jordan and Iraq, but they actually control their economies as well. Israel is sacred ground as far as Buckingham Palace is concerned. The heraldic genealogies of the British royals and also the Bavarian royals, and in fact all of the royal families of Europe, all claim that they are descended from King Solomon. A hymn is sung at every coronation which eulogizes Israel and actually even describes England as the New Jerusalem. The long-term plan is for Buckingham Palace to have complete and utter control over the oil reserves of the Middle East, and when the oil runs out, the Middle East will be transformed into a solar power centre, and the pipes that used to run the crude oil will then be laid with electricity cables, and they will supply all of Europe with electricity. The only fly in the ointment of this grand plan, which has been running since before the time of Winston Churchill, is Mr. Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has turned out to be an anti-establishment, people power candidate in this election. Only time will tell if Donald Trump actually wakes up and realizes what he's actually doing. He's actually challenging Buckingham Palace. Just a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Donald Trump invited the Wall Street Journal to Trump Tower.
And those are real letters. Those are not corporate letters. Those are not letters from Exxon.
These are handwritten.
Those are not letters from General Motors. Those are letters from people.
And you can see that he's receiving and answering, replying to letters, huge numbers of letters that are pouring in from members of the public. And they have really taken on board Donald Trump's message. And Donald Trump, all the way through this interview that was conducted by the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, was really saying time and time again anti-establishment things.
We can't sell beef. It's peanuts. And by the way, unbelievable people are coming. A lot of people that are illegal are great people. Just let's get it straight. They don't want to give it straight. Because the press are liars. They're terrible people.
That there are, for immigrants on the whole,
Come on, try getting it out. Try getting it out.
I'll get it out.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to put this on television, but you don't even know what you're talking about. Try getting it out. Go ahead.
He was basically saying that he was fighting for the little guy, and that he was calling members of Obama's administration stupid. After this interview was aired, what happened is that the good old party, the GOP Republicans, actually ganged up on Donald Trump. And they've actually been issuing press releases to the BBC in London saying, more or less, that Donald Trump is a wild card, he's a loose cannon, and that he's not the preferred candidate for the Republicans.
The premiums are going through the roof. The deductibles, frankly, you have to get hit with a Komatsu tractor in order to use them. They're so high. NBC calls me, we'd like to see you. A couple of months ago, the head of NBC comes to see me, and the head of NBC's boss, I don't want to mention names because they're really good people, they're friends of mine, although I probably will never speak to them again either.
And pledge to not run an independent campaign against that person. Again, we're looking for you to raise your hand now. Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump.
Donald Trump has royal connections. He's related to one of the most powerful aristocrats in England, from Lancaster, and the Queen owns the Duchy of Lancaster, which is a huge estate. There's towns, there's cities, there's villages on this estate. There's hundreds of thousands of residents, and Donald Trump is actually related to the Lancastrian aristocracy of Great Britain. The question is this: does Donald Trump really realize that he's actually taking on the world's most powerful monarchy? Is he fake or is he real?
We have very stupid people in our country negotiating for us, and we have leaders that don't know what they're doing. You know, Jeb Bush, one of my opponents, I noticed he's not doing very well in the polls. I've actually known. And by the way, they said I won the debate. Is that nice? Is that nice? Right? The polls came out and said I won. And the media, look at all those people back there. Scavengers. They're like scavengers. They'll probably say the crowds were about equal. Oh, they were equal. But that's the way they are, very dishonest. CNN is terrible. CNN. You're with CNN? Are you with CNN? Are you? You people do not cover us accurately at all. So they have a few protesters outside, and they have thousands of people, and the first question from CNN is about protesters. So what I'm going to do is span out. Span out. Show them the crowd, press. Show them the crowd. Show them the crowd. Look, they're not turning the cameras. They don't even turn the cameras. They don't even turn the cameras because you know what? They're very dishonest people. Because you know what they do? They have the camera, live television, on my face the entire amount. My wife goes, I go home. Were there any people there tonight, darling? They don't see. They never show the crowds. Frankly, I don't even think they give a damn about education, half of them. And I'm sure some maybe do.
To use that word in this form?
I will. Because people want to hear the truth, Frank. I watch you all the time. They want to hear the truth.
Correct.
We have to be able to express ourselves.
I've been covering presidential competitions and elections for more than 10 years, and I've made political documentaries such as the Illuminati series, and the first film came out in 2004. I have never seen a candidate like Donald Trump actually go onto the podium and criticize the mainstream media, and then, on top of it, actually criticize the Bush family. Now, the Bush family, let's remember, have put the resources of the Pentagon at the feet of the British royals. It was Pentagon armed forces that enabled the takeover of Iraq. And essentially, the Pentagon is like an offshore kind of armed forces services kind of organisation, which is used by the Foreign Office in London to actually attack and steal oil from places like Libya, Nigeria, Iran, Iraq, Syria, wherever they want. They will actually steal the oil from these desert nations. And for Donald Trump to actually go on and criticize not only the media but also the Bush family, that is tantamount to actually being critical of the so-called aristocratic Illuminati. I've never seen anything like it. I am willing to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. If this is a fake act, and he really is on the side of the Illuminati and not on the side of the people, then this is the biggest and most dangerous reverse psychology experiment which I've ever seen happen in the world's media. For the time being, I wish him luck, and I hope that he sticks to his pledges to reduce taxes for the ordinary working class people, because austerity was a scam. And we need to have somebody who is not a politician in charge.
See, you're not supposed to say that somebody graduated last or second to last in their class, because you're supposed to be like Frank says, very nice. Folks, I want to make America great again. We want to get down to brass tacks. We don't want to listen to his stuff with being politically correct and everything has... We have a lot of work to do. I'm a very militaristic person, but you have to know when to use the military. I'm the only person up here that fought against going into Iraq.
Can I make a response to that?
Just excuse me 1 second, Randy. You don't mind, Randy. You know, you are on last, you do have your 1%.
Bud, have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't. I could say absolutely, and everybody. I don't think in terms of that. I think in terms of let's go on and let's make it right.
He was the deputy director of MI6, Britain's most senior diplomat. He was knighted by the Queen and in charge of thousands of highly trained spies. But he was also a member of the paedophile information exchange. He had 45 diaries full of sex fantasies with children. His friend was the private secretary of Margaret Thatcher. He strangled a child and hit another with his car. He raped young boys and organized orgies with children for other politicians.
The Enigma Channel, intelligent television for planet Earth. EnigmaTV.com. The Enigma Channel, intelligent television for planet Earth. Multiple languages, virtual HD, and best of all, no pop-up ads. The world's first global TV station. No set-top box required. Watch on Android, iOS, and PC. Anytime, anywhere. EnigmaChannel.com. Intelligent television for planet Earth. EnigmaChannel.com.